From student visas to British citizenship. Today, I'm going to talk about my journey of navigating the UK's immigration through a period of 13 years from when I was 17 until I was almost 30 years old. I'm not going to just talk about myself, obviously, but what I will talk about is some practical tips and lessons that I think will benefit you if you're considering whether immigrating to the UK or if you're already in the UK and you want to extend your visas and navigate this immigration journey. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the UK either. This is applicable to any potential country. And these tips can perhaps save you a lot of time, a lot of stress, and a lot of money. So let's get into it. So first things first, let me just give you an overview about who I am. So I'm originally from Iran. I moved to the UK when I was 17 years old on a student visa, all alone. And after spending about 5 years on multiple student visas, I obtained my master's degree in law at Newcastle University. After university, I was pretty much in a career dilemma because I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship, but at the same time, I was a clueless 22-year-old kid with no entrepreneurship experience. And there was a lot of things that I just didn't know about what it takes to start and scale a business. But at the same time, I had the issue that because of my Iranian passport at the time, it was very difficult to find a sponsored job. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people who need visa-sponsored jobs can relate and resonate with this point. So anyways, afterwards, I pitched my idea to my university and I got endorsed for this visa called the Tier 1 Graduate Entrepreneur Visa. I had it for about a year. I had another endorsement again for a further year, but I just switched to the Tier 1 Entrepreneur Visa right away after the end of the first year. Long story short, throughout those 3 years, I hired a total of 13 people. I scaled the business to about 30 UK cities, and I got recognition from, let's say, established stakeholders such as NatWest when I was accepted into their Entrepreneur Accelerator program, which was also an endorsing body for the former Innovator Visa. But anyways, that's not really the point. The point is that I really surprisingly managed to do it all. And by early 2020, we even closed a funding round. Almost. We didn't, because the 2020 pandemic happened and pretty much, boom, the business just had to be shut down, just like that. And this is the game of entrepreneurship, basically. But one good thing is that by that time, I qualified for settlement in the UK. So I applied for permanent residency, and then after a year on ILR, which is known as indefinite leave to remain, I successfully applied for British citizenship. So that's pretty much my journey, and this journey took about 13 years almost, or about 12, something like that. Yeah, I always said that my goal is to have another passport before I'm 30 years old. And I got the UK passport 3 months before I turned 30. So I guess I achieved that goal. Had it not been for the pandemic, I would have achieved a lot more, but here we are, and I'm pretty happy with the way things have gone and the direction that I'm in life right now. The point is, what I want to share is that there is a lot of lessons that I learned in this journey, okay? Whether it's small practicalities about the visa applications, anything like that, or generally the vision and overview that you should have when you're considering doing this. We all know how hard immigration is. We're leaving what we call home, no matter how bad it may be. We're leaving that behind. We're leaving our loved ones, our parents or siblings, whatever, grandparents. We're leaving all of them behind and going to another country. And we also have to navigate a lot of challenges in the other country. So the last thing you want to do is to make mistakes and regret doing this after a long time. even if you get the passport. What I'm trying to do with this video is to help you avoid that sense of regret. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to say is that visas, this is not a general rule per se, but visas are complicated and they require pre-planning and time. The last thing you want to do is to leave everything to the last minute. Do not do this, okay? Because decisions that are rushed generally, I mean, not always, but they could end up with regret. So if you're considering this, spend a lot of time planning and understanding your options, not just in one country, but in more. Okay, it's a big world out there. You shouldn't necessarily constrain yourself to just one place for whatever reason that may be. I don't know, you really like to live in London, or you really like the weather. Said almost nobody ever in the UK. So this is the point, that you should plan things well in advance and do not leave everything to the last minute. Don't assume it's all easy and yeah, it's straightforward. It's not. And sometimes a little small thing can ruin everything, which brings me to my next point. And the next point is that the devil is in the details, right? So you may look at a visa requirement and you think, oh, okay, that point, check. Point number 2, check. Point number 3, check. Okay, I qualify. I'll just do it. There is a lot of nuances. There's a lot of tiny little details in visas, at least from what I learned in my journey. And let me give you a story about this, about how I almost lost my postgraduate student visa. So I had a 3-year-long visa for my bachelor's degree. And this visa expired in the November of the year after my visa finished. My course finished, sorry. So I applied for a master's degree right away because we had to do that. There was no such thing as the graduate visa at the time. Thanks to the UK government for that one. But what happened was that I paid all the tuition fees. I paid the whole thing in full. I even paid for my accommodation fees and signed a tenancy contract. So the only thing was that I moved to Newcastle in September 2014. It's when most courses start, which is in September. My visa, which was with my previous institution, would expire by November 2014. So I thought, I have some time. I'll just leave it and then I'll just apply in early November or end of October, basically. Now, one thing I missed was that to apply for that visa, you needed to have this little amount of money, something like, I don't know, less than £2,000. You needed to have this in your account for 28 days, even if you paid all the tuition fees, even if you did everything. It was the rule. And a lot of times, these rules don't really have much practical and logical sense, but that's just the way it is. So I went to Newcastle, and they said, no, you can't register on your course. Because your previous visa has your previous institution's registration number and you can't do it. You need to apply for your visa right now. The only issue is I just put that money in the account because I worked all that summer and all the money that I had, I spent it on the tuition fees and everything. Whereas I could have just made a partial payment for the tuition fees and I would have had the money. But that's what happened. And here what I was in a limbo where they said, no, we can't let you register late for your course. And what happened was that they said I have to withdraw from the course, which meant I have to go back home. Anyways, it's 2 weeks of utter and pure stress that was. And the Newcastle University, I gotta thank those guys for this one, for all this hassle, but here we are. So they said, no, we can't do it. Anyways, I got in touch with my previous university because I had the summer job. My previous university is called Kiel University. Awesome place, honestly. One of the best experiences of my life. Anyways, I got in touch with my previous boss at Kiel, and they said, we'll let you come to Kiel with this, and you can just do everything here. I literally made my mind up to go. The only thing that was holding me back was that tenancy agreement that I signed in Newcastle. And bear in mind, at that time, I was what? I was like a 21-year-old student, so I didn't have unlimited money. Whereas right now, I would have just been like, oh, okay, 6 grand. Okay, never mind. I'll just go. But that's the way it was. So that tenancy agreement kept me in there. But what I did was I approached Newcastle University and I said, all right, I'm going to withdraw. You need to refund me all my money that I paid for the course in full. As I said that, they changed and they said, yeah, we'll make an exception and we'll let you register late for your course. So somehow I had the upper hand in that one by that time. So there we go. I ended up staying in Newcastle and I spent about 10 years in Newcastle because I started a business there afterwards and I just stayed basically until I left the UK in March 2024. But the point here is this, is that this is not always about logic, okay? So the spirit behind this, less than £2,000 requirement was that you're financially able to maintain yourself, even if you pay all the tuition fees, even if you do all of that. So what you should be aware of is all the details, okay? Sometimes a little clause, a small detail, not just with student visas, with any visa. Similar thing was with the tier 1 entrepreneur visa that I was on. A lot of people hired people, invested all the money, but there was this misunderstanding, and let's say one missing pay slip ended up ruining these people's visa applications. So it's just the way it is. So you need to have a full understanding of all the clauses. And on that note, I would say if you don't understand all of it, go and get professional help. Get an expert, a regulated advisor to help you with that. I never used a lawyer personally. I did all my visas by myself. I never used an immigration lawyer personally, but that was me. And I had let's say a master's degree in law, but I just didn't need one. But that doesn't mean that you don't need one. So if you think that's necessary, go and do it and go and seek external help. It won't hurt. The other point that I want to talk about is getting a second passport, if this is your goal. I'm not judging you for it at all. And I understand why people would want a second passport. I completely get that. But a second passport or a third one should not be your ultimate goal, okay? Sometimes you're so preoccupied with this because of the restrictions or the disadvantages of your current passport that you think, no, it's worth it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put all these years, I'm going to put all this money to get this passport. But the point is, it shouldn't be, because there are passport options around the world. Getting another passport is generally either very difficult or very expensive or both. But you have options. So what I want to say is plan your journey and your life in a way that you get more than just a passport, which is why I pursued the business pathway, because I thought, okay, I get practical experience, I will scale this business and hopefully make money from it, or have an exit in the end, which I would make a lot of money from that, but that didn't happen. I guess we have to thank the pandemic for that one. But that's the point, that a second passport has advantages. It can open a lot of doors. I've made a video before on weak passports. I understand. Personally, I really do understand what it's like to have a bad one. But it shouldn't be the ultimate goal. With that in mind, let's go into another point. And that is to plan your resources and evaluate the risk properly. So if you're going to go on an immigration journey somewhere else, what is the input that you're putting? So time, which we never get back. Most people value money more than time. And as someone who's in his 30s now, I can tell you that time is the most valuable asset that you have. Sure, money is valuable as well, but money, you can get it back. Time, you can never get it back, unless we invent a time machine. But we don't have one now, so you will never get the time back. So look at what you're actually putting into this journey. You're putting your time, you're putting your money, And you're also putting time away from your loved ones, presuming, let's say, you have your parents in your home country. That's a big thing. I mean, I look at my parents getting older now, and to be very personal, it really breaks my heart that I had to spend so much time away from them. And I wish things would have worked out differently in a way, but that's just the way it is. And it's you have to really look at what you're putting in and what are you getting out, and most importantly, what's the risk? If you're gonna put all this time and, let's say, sell a house or pressure your parents into selling their house to fund you or something like that, do understand what you're going to get out of it and what's the risk. What if it all doesn't work out? What if you put all this time, all this money, and then you don't get your next visa or your permanent residency or your passport? What then? You've lost a lot. So do a proper risk evaluation on things, not just with immigration, with anything in life. You have to look at input, output, the risk. It's very, this formula will save you from a lot of hassle in life. That's about it, really. I hope this video resonates. I'm sure it does resonate with a lot of people. And my goal in this channel and even in my consultancy, even though I work primarily with entrepreneurs, my work is to really help others who are in the shoes that I've been in before. And I want people to make smart decisions, fulfill their potential, and most importantly, avoid unnecessary pain. And I hope this video does that. Until the next one, I'll see you later.